Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to be taking a look at an action camera that I recently received that I think is going to fit perfectly in with our channel and our needs. And this is not one of those super expensive action cameras that you see out there. I'm not going to mention any brand names, but you guys know who I'm talking about. But this is a budget-friendly camera that I think is really going to do all of the things that I'm kind of afraid to do with my more expensive cameras. So this is going to be a pretty down and dirty review. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, and what we're taking a look at here is this 4K action camera from IceFox. And right off the bat, let me just say that IceFox sent us this camera at no charge, and all I ask is we just give a review and show a little bit about how we use it. And honestly, we've been thinking about getting a more budget-friendly action camera for a while now. Like I said, to do all the things that we just don't feel comfortable doing with our more expensive cameras, the ones that we normally use, the one that I'm looking at right now. Things like getting footage underwater, mounting it to the outside of the truck. Those are just some of the things that we don't want to do with cameras that we spent, $400 or $500 on. And the first thing I want to do here is just take a look at everything that came in this box. So here we've just got a package full of some Velcro straps that you can strap this camera on. It came with 2 batteries and it's got its own separate battery charger. We got some zip ties and a lens cleaning cloth in here. I really like this. This is the waterproof container that it comes with. So the camera itself is not waterproof. So if you're gonna dunk it underwater, you gotta have one of these. Otherwise, you'll be buying a new one. Bicycle mount. Pretty self-explanatory, I think there. There's an extra little cage right here. Now this is just it's kind of a cheap, flimsy cage. I'm not sure that I would expect this to prevent damage to the camera. And then it also comes with this neat little clip here. You can just slide that sucker in there and clip it on to anything that you need. So anyway, there we go. Power cable. Everything comes with its own power cable. We've all got about 1 million of these, so USB-A to USB-C. It's got just an assortment of different attachments that you can use, and they're all the standard action cam attachments or mounts, and you can configure this thing in a lot of different ways. And then my favorite accessory, I think, out of this whole selection is these clips right here. So I've already got the base of these mounted to the outside mirrors on my truck. And that's really where I wanted to be able to mount this new camera. So I've already got these on the truck. They slide in real easy to the base unit. The base has got the standard 3M sticky on the bottom. I just put it on right on top of that mirror. And then these slide in and out real easily. And then another cool feature is they give you this remote control. So it looks like you can run one of these little Velcro straps through it and attach it to something. It's got a button to take a picture, and it's got a button, a button to snap a picture, and a button to start the video recording. So that's kind of a neat little feature with this camera as well. And then, of course, we have the camera itself. And so again, I'm recording right now on our normal camera, the one that we use for almost all of our video. And then this is what's coming from this IceFox action camera. So both of these cameras are set to 1080p at 30 frames per second. So you can kind of see what the difference is between the two of these images. Okay, so let's talk a little bit now about some of the feature highlights of this camera. So first of all, it can record up to 4K video at 30 frames per second. And then if you bump that down to the 2.7 or 1080p, you can get that up to 60 frames per second as well. Now, really, to be honest with you, I wasn't able to really tell much of a difference between any of those settings, with the exception of the 30 frames versus 60 frames per second. You could see definitely some difference there about how smooth the video was, but as far as the actual resolution, to be honest with you, I'm not sure that I could tell a big difference between, say, the 4K and the 1080p. Now, next is the image stabilization, and so far, for my main use on this camera, which is using it as an external camera on the truck, I really didn't notice a big difference here either. I felt like even without that image stabilization on, the camera took pretty good video driving down bumpy roads. Now, the one thing I don't like about it in our specific application is that thing's hard mounted or fixed to the outside mirror. And when we turn left or right, that image stabilization, just through all of its digital processing, it makes it look like that camera is panning a little bit. And sometimes it doesn't pan back to its original position. So the picture is just a little bit off from what I want it to be. And I think a couple of times it really just didn't come back at all until we turned again. I think those are the biggest features that most people are going to be looking for out of their action camera is, what's the resolution, how many frames per second can it do, and what does the image stabilization look like? So this camera's got a lot of other features that I'm not gonna really go in depth on, but it does include a car mode, which I'm not exactly sure what that does. It's not in the manual. The manual doesn't do a very good job of explaining a lot of the features on this camera. And then a couple of other quick features is it does do slow motion recording and then also time-lapse recordings as well. Oh, and one more feature on this camera that I almost forgot to cover is the app that you can download for your phone to control the camera and view all of the pictures and the videos that you have on there. Now, it's not a bad app. It's not the greatest that I've seen, but it's not terrible. My biggest issue with this app is that you have to connect to the camera manually. And this is kind of a two-step process. So the first step is that you have to turn the Wi-Fi on the camera. There's a button on the side. There's actually two buttons. So the bottom button here, if you just press it and you long hold it, then it brings up this screen right here telling you that the Wi-Fi has been enabled. And then you have to go to your phone, go into your settings, and then connect to that Wi-Fi signal coming from the phone. You got to do all of that manually. And what you're looking for here is the Snap Pro network, and just connect to that. Once you see that it's connected, then back out of your settings, back into the camera app, and then hit the blue button in the middle that says Connect Camera. Pretty straightforward. It's just a couple of steps that I don't think are necessary. It would be much easier if, like other cameras, the Wi-Fi signal was just constantly on this camera, and then all you have to do is open up your app, hit the Connect Camera button, and boom, you're there. So I think they have a little bit of work to do there, but at least we have an app where we can control this camera. Now, once you get inside of the app, up here in the top left, there is the settings button, and I'm not gonna go through all these settings, but there's just a whole bunch of things that you can control in here. The screen angle or the viewing angle, wide, middle, narrow. I wasn't able to get my microphone to actually connect to the camera, but supposedly the IceFox camera is capable of connecting to a wired external microphone. And again, I'm not gonna go through all these settings. I'm just showing you kind of how to get there. And then something else that I like about this app is it does give you the preview mode, so you can see what's going on the camera via your phone. What I don't like about this is that by turning the phone sideways, you don't get that landscape mode. So you're just confined to this portrait kind of picture of a landscape mode coming off of your phone. So I think it would be a little bit better if they could give you a rotate screen option here so you could get that into landscape mode. And then down here at the bottom, this is where we're going to control what type of video that we want to take. So right now I've got it set to normal video. And then if we hit the settings at the bottom right, then that gives you all of the options for that mode of shooting. So we're in the normal mode of shooting, normal video. And so I can change my resolution to whatever I want here, all the way up to 4K 30. I can turn the image stabilization off here. And this is where I say it's not the most intuitive app in the world because it says open and close. Close means that it's off. The open means that the image stabilization is on. And then of course there are several other options in here you can change about the current shooting mode. And if you want to change the shooting mode, you just go in down here and change it to whatever you want, time lapse, slow, whatever video it is that you want to shoot. And then like I said before, we can get into our media files here and view these. But again, when you're viewing these media files, it doesn't auto rotate, so you're not able to watch these in the landscape mode. I think that's a pretty basic feature of just about every app out there, and it's kind of disappointing that you can't watch these or view your files in that landscape mode. But overall, it's a pretty good app. I'm not really going to go any deeper into this. Actually, I will say that you're able to do a little bit of editing inside of the app. Now, personally, I do 99% of all of my editing on my laptop. It's just really hard to do on a phone. Sometimes I'll do it if I'm uploading something to Facebook real quick, but other than that, I do 99% of my editing on a computer. I just don't find it very easy to edit video on my phone, so I'm not even gonna look into that, but you are able to do that on here if that's what you like to do. All right, now let's get to the meat of this, which is getting out there and actually recording some video. Actually, we took this camera out yesterday. We went out and did a little bit of paddleboarding, and I got a little bit of footage out there. And as you can see here, the video's not terrible. It's not quite as good, like I said before, as the cameras that we would normally use. And this is probably a good point for me to say, this is not really a camera that I would use on a daily basis for our normal everyday recording. It just doesn't have the picture or the audio quality. But as you can see here, it does take fairly good video. But right now what I want to do is I want to take this thing back outside and just kind of walk around a little bit, get some footage outside, and compare some audio between the two cameras. And what I'll do while I'm out there is I'll just go ahead and take this external microphone off. That way we have a true comparison side by side of just the quality of the internal camera itself versus the camera that we normally use on a daily basis for all of our recording. All right, here we go. We've got some outside scenery to look at. There's just a little bit of wind. It's a little bit breezy. It's not too bad, so we're going to be able to see what that sounds like with these microphones as they pick up that wind. So what you're looking at right now is the footage and the audio from our normal action camera that we use on a daily basis to record probably 95% of our video. So this is what this looks like. Again, I've got both these cameras set at 1080p, 60 frames a second, and I'm using the internal microphone on both of these cameras. So now we're going to shift over, and now you're listening to and watching the IceFox footage. So this is what that sounds like. There's a little bit of a breeze there. Not sure if that's coming through, but this is what the audio sounds like coming in from just the internal mic again on this new IceFox camera. And hopefully we can catch this fountain on that audio. So again, this is our normal action cam that you're listening to right now. That's what that fountain would sound like. I guess I'm about probably 40 or 50 feet away from that fountain. And now we're listening to the audio through the IceFox camera from that fountain. Again, it's probably 40 or 50 feet away. Really don't have any idea how that's coming through. I really haven't listened to the audio out of this camera too much, but that's what it sounds like from about 50 feet on that fountain. So now let's just switch over and now I'm on the back side of the camera. And so we're getting the audio from the back side of the camera. This audio is coming from our normal action camera. So we can kind of hear what that sounds like. We can get kind of a scenic view on this camera. And now we're listening to the IceFox camera from the rear. That's where I'm standing. So that audio is coming in from the rear of the camera on the IceFox, this new one. Again, have no idea what this is going to sound like because I've really never tested it like this yet. So we're going to kind of find this out at the same time, I guess. Okay, so now let's test the image stabilization. So this is I'm just going to kind of walk around a little bit like we would, we were out on a hike or something like that. And I just got both of these cameras on the same tripod here, and one mounted on top of the other. So I've got the image stabilization on both of these. So you're looking right now at our normal action camera, and this is kind of the way this looks. I'm just walking around normal, not really doing anything special. Okay, and then this is the IceFox camera. Again, same tripod. I've just got one camera on top of the other. Just kind of walking around back here. Again, like we would if we were just on a hike somewhere. This is what the image stabilization would look like on that camera. Again, I haven't seen this yet. All I have to compare right now is just what it looked like as I was driving down the road on some bumpy roads, and that actually turned out pretty well, better than what I expected, both with the image stabilization on and off. but we'll see what this turns out to be. Okay, I think that does it. I think we can get a good idea of what both of these look like. Again, the normal action camera here, just standing out in front of a pond with the fountain going in the back. And then the IceFox camera, same. Again, two cameras mounted on top of each other, and looking at that through the IceFox. All right, let's go back inside, and I'm going to kind of take a look at these videos, get my initial thoughts on these, and then we'll come right back at you. Okay, so after having reviewed all of that video, first let me say that I didn't realize that this new IceFox camera has got a much narrower field of view. That's why it looked like that camera was kind of shoved right up in my face. Again, those two cameras were just stacked right on top of each other, so there was no difference in the distance between me and the camera. So let's, I guess, just get to my final thoughts on this. So obviously this is a much cheaper camera. I think right now they're on Amazon for about 50 or 60 bucks. I'll put that current price right up here, but this IceFox camera is about a tenth of the price of what we paid for the other cameras that we use on a daily basis. So it's expected that the audio and the video are just not going to be on the same level. And I think that's okay, you know, especially considering it, at least for us, how we intend to use this camera. Now, the image stabilization on it, as far as I can tell, I mean, it works pretty well. Again, if I get back to how we're using it on the truck, the way that stabilization works, the panning of it doesn't always work 100%, but I think that's going to be okay in the specific application where it's sitting on that mirror outside the truck. But just walking around out in the yard out there, that's kind of how we would do video if we're, you know, out on a hike or something. The image stabilization actually worked pretty well. So I really don't have any issues there either. The only thing I wish that I could have done different out there was to get an external microphone hooked up to it, but apparently the one that I'm using, even though it does have the capability to hook directly up to the camera, it just is not compatible with that IceFox. Okay, so in the end, if I was looking for another one of these cameras, let's say I wanted to have one sitting on the outside of my truck on both sides, I wouldn't hesitate to grab another one of these off of Amazon. From what I can tell, that video as we're driving down the road is good enough for what we need. It's not perfect, it's not quite as smooth as my more expensive cameras, but again, I would hate for one of those cameras to come unmounted or unlatched or whatever and fall off of the truck as I'm going down the road at 65 miles an hour. I don't think that would make my day. So if I was looking for another camera to maybe get on the other side of the truck, I don't think I would hesitate to grab another one of these off of Amazon. All right, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you're interested in one of these, I'll go ahead and pop our Amazon link straight to this camera down in the description area. And having said that, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down there. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that bell button so that you get notified of all of our future videos.